me get me. I'm my own worst enemy. Without you and all your faults. So irritating. Don't wanna be my friend no more. I wanna be somebody else. Don't let me get anybody else. Hey everyone, that was Pink's Don't Let Me Get Me. And I want to do this installment about Ask Mark, or I should say this installment of Ask Mark, centered around self-care and self-love. I think that we often struggle to like love ourselves, and we often struggle to take care of ourselves in a way that's acceptable and appropriate. And I have to be honest with you, the last few days have been extremely difficult on the self love and the self care part. And yeah, it's been tough. I haven't been feeling like myself. So um, I'm going to answer these questions and share a little bit about my experiences lately. So the first question comes from Facebook. They all come from Facebook, actually. Um, this person asks, "How do we remember to maintain self care slash love, given that the formalities of society are set up to make us feel like we have to choose instead of balance maintain?" So we live in a culture that values productivity and perfectionism, and those two P words are extremely dangerous when not checked and not balanced out, right? So we know that there is no such thing as perfection, right? I think we talked about that before. And then what's this productivity? So productivity is important, right? And I think there's a high demand, especially in America, of just like 24-hour access, always working, the emails never stop, the smart devices never turn off. And honestly, just kind of balancing it and like saying it's okay to set standards. Like we can't allow our worth to be determined by our level of productivity. Some days I bang out that to-do list and I grind hard for hours and hours. Some days I'm not as productive. We're human. Like we're not robots, right? Like our creativity, our talents, our intelligence, it needs to like rest up and charge up. We always can't be on it. Sorry, like that's just not possible. So why do we keep doing that to ourselves? I don't know. Can I just say I'm really loving my lipstick right now? So I had a red sidebar, totally unrelated. My hair's a mess, but my hairstylist Jasmine's doing my hair on Sunday, so. But anywho, so I was wearing red lipstick earlier, and you know how sometimes red can look really stainish and like sloppy after a long day. So then I just put a nude lip over it, and it created like this pinkish color, which I'm really loving. Totally not related. But that was me caring for my lips. Mm-mm. Okay, moving on. Um, so how do you maintain balance? I didn't even answer the question. I'm rambling today. Sorry. Um, you maintain balance despite the society we live in by allowing yourself to know that you always can't be on it. Like that's not possible. So be kind to yourself. Be like, if today I get out of bed and that's the biggest accomplishment I have today, then that has to be enough. Brene Brown talks about this a lot about how like the first thought that comes across our head most of the time when we wake up is I didn't get enough sleep, and the last thought that's in our head before we go to bed is I didn't get enough done. We live in this culture of like not enough, not good enough, not productive enough, not beautiful enough, not pretty enough, not lovable enough, not important enough, not smart enough, not talented enough. Let that go. You are enough. I am enough. I am learning that I am enough, and I'm fully embracing that. And I'm embracing my feminist and my gender nonconformity. And despite all the naysayers, I'm totally embracing that. Yeah. Next question. I hope that answered your question. How do you love yourself or fell in love? When you fell in love and feel defeated, how do you figure out if you're in a bad funk or depressed? So, my depression has been really flaring up lately. And while there's been some amazing moments in my life lately, I'm still dealing with things and dynamics that make every day a challenge. So, um, when you, how do you love yourself when you're feeling depressed or out of funk or not good enough or feeling really beat down? I think the first thing is applaud yourself for getting out of bed. I mean, there's been days when I couldn't get out of bed. There's been days where I've slept 10 hours straight. There's been days where I couldn't sleep and I kept running and running, grinding and grinding. So many of us suffer from depression and other mental illnesses, and we don't talk enough about it. There's so much shame around it, and I'm not ashamed to say that this past Monday I went to a new therapist, and it was in a clinic in the city where I grew up. And while I felt shame being in the clinic waiting room, I knew it was what I needed to do. I needed to start that process of going to therapy again after a month of not going to therapy. There's no shame in me admitting that publicly. Oh my gosh. I wish we could talk more about therapy and that everyone goes to therapy and everyone has access to therapy. I think it's a beautiful thing. So, what do you do when you feel defeated, and how do you figure out if you're in a bad funk or not? Well, ask yourself, are you feeling like yourself? I knew I was in a really weird funk earlier this week because I didn't feel like myself. I had, first of all, I haven't read a book in over a month. Like, I haven't had the ability to read a book or write much. So I know I'm not myself when I'm not reading and writing. Yeah. So I'm working on that. How do you just know? You know your body and you know what you're going through, and I think that you need to seek out help. On my website, under resources, there's a mental health link that you can definitely check out. And I really encourage you all to reach out to someone, especially if you're feeling suicidal. You know, you're not alone. You don't have to go through this alone. So please, please reach out. Um, what is the difference between self love and self care? There's multiple questions to this part, so I'm going to answer that first. For me, self love is about embracing and accepting every aspect of who you are. Like, when I accept my feminist and I embrace it and I live my authentic self, that is an act of self love. Self care, for me, is less to do with accepting and more to do with tending to yourself, right? So, doing for self what you would do for others. So, getting sleep, drinking more water. I'm really trying on the whole drinking more water front. Shout out to Willie P. Love you guys. I'm really trying to drink more water. I'm trying to get to myself a day, like a whole day drinking all of this. I'm trying to work up to 4 of these a day. Trying. I don't like water. But this is part of my self care. Drinking more water, doing something I don't like to do. So to me, that's the difference. Like, self love is about accepting all of who you are and loving it and embracing that. And then self care is about taking action. Self care requires action and effort. And sometimes that action or effort is saying no and just sleeping when you don't feel like you're doing something for someone else. Sometimes self care is saying, I'm traveling a lot the next few weeks, so I'm going to keep it really low key when I get back. Or I'm going to go out to dinner with a girlfriend I haven't hung out with in a couple years, despite being tired, because self care for me means reconnecting with friends and family who I care about, and not just always focusing on work. So, what are some tips to practice self love? I don't know if there's any tips I would say. Sometimes I like take selfies. Like, I really love myself, so I love this outfit, so I'm gonna take a selfie. Sometimes that's an act of self love for me. Um, Sometimes I look in the mirror and I tell myself that I'm enough. Sometimes I write letters to myself. That's an act of self love. Um, and what are some tips to practice self love? And just know that you're worthy of your own love. Like, why do we always think that our love is good enough for someone else but not for ourselves? That's so backwards to me. How do you balance self love and self care with the constant demands of one's life? So it's challenging. Self care is not easy. It's a constant practice for me. Like, I have to remind myself to slow down. Sometimes it gets so bad, I have to remind myself to eat. Really, like, I get so immersed in what I'm doing and the work that I forget to eat. Like, sometimes I'll tell my coworker, hey, Dawn, can you, like, remind me to go take lunch, or can you force me to take lunch at this time? Because I will forget to eat. And that's not healthy, and that's not good for me. Sometimes it's that. Sometimes, my biggest tip for self-care is say no sometimes. Yeah. Say no. No. Say no. It's easy. It's not easy, actually. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's not easy. It's hard. You feel guilty. You feel shame. You feel bad for saying no. But say no. Sometimes. Not all the time. Sometimes. Sometimes it's okay to say no. If you're not up for it, say no. If you're tired, say no. If you don't want to hang out with someone because they're negative, say no. Say no. It's okay. Really, it's okay to say no. Yeah? Gosh, I hope this helped. I felt like I was rambling the entire time. I apologize. Sometimes, our greatest challenge is ourself. That inner voice in our head that says we're not worthy, we're not loved, we're not beautiful, we're not worthy of our own care and affection. And that's not true. You are so worthy. I am so worthy. And together, we are worthy of living a life that is full of joy and gratitude and happiness and vulnerability. And just keep pushing forward. Don't give up. Don't give up. Reach out to someone. Reach out to me. info@marktravisrivera.com. Email me. We can be pen pals. Please don't give up. I don't want you to give up. I'm glad I didn't give up. There's been times when I tried to give up, but I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad that I found the ability to love myself enough to keep going. I'm glad that I have people in my life who love me enough to sustain me. I'm glad that I've learned how to better care for myself. Still getting better at it, but I'm getting there. It's not about perfection, people. It's about the process. So, I hope this video helps. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Or share it with your peoples. Self-care, self-love, self-sustaining. Pow! Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye!